Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couch Potato Podcast. Producer Adam joins the show today. Him and I are going to sit down and talk about the 5 best movie trailers that we've seen from this past weekend's Super Bowl. The Flash, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Transformers, Fast 10. There was 12 or 13 different ones that came out. We break down the best and the ones we didn't like from this past weekend. There might be one or two in there that we didn't care for, or at least we're not as excited as some people may be. So, after the guitar riff, we bring to you the Couch Potato Podcast, 5 best movie trailers from the Super Bowl. All right, producer Adam's joining me on the show today. Adam, how's it going, my friend?
Not too bad, not too bad. How
Good.
about you?
Not too shabby. Recording a little later than usual. I didn't want to miss the Super Bowl. That's pretty much, in my household, that's probably a bigger holiday, at least to me, than Christmas, Thanksgiving. Like today's Valentine's Day. I don't really give a shit about Valentine's Day. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but yeah, it's a pretty big day in my house, so I didn't want to miss it. So, recording a little later than usual. Did you watch the game?
I did not. Usually I am invited to like a party or something, and I watch it regardless of who's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was kind of interesting with the Bengals. This year, them just missing it, kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I know you're not like a huge sports fan like I am, but I also know you know enough to where you're not saying, "Oh, I enjoyed the good match, especially when the kicker hits the home run to the goalpost."
Good old sports ball.
The sports ball goes to he hits a home run with the sports ball through the goalpost over the goalie. Well done, sir. Yeah, I had quite a few friends that were upset. I know a lot of my friends are Bengals fans, and I don't know if you've been following much of it, but the referees in the NFL have been kind of shitting the bed, and it's been put on display in front of the entire country the last couple of weeks. The Bengals and the Chiefs title game was the last game before the Super Bowl, and tons of people were watching that. And of course, the holding call at the end of the game on Sunday. I know you don't follow it, but I don't know if you've been hearing people seem to think the NFL's rigged.
Yeah,
And
that's universal.
So I mean, you being probably one of the 2 or 3 smartest people I know, like, do you think that could be a possibility that something like that could get rigged?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, no, it's like anything else that can get rigged. Cable news, like sports, I dare say, like, I don't want to say politics. I don't want to make this political, but
Yeah, let's not. I do not need that shit storm. Although we don't get a lot of listens, so maybe that might be a good thing. So,
but I mean, as many checks and balances there are in all of those things, there's always a chance that there could be somebody that is not playing by the rules.
well, I know for me, my feeling on it is, I don't think the NFL is so much rigged. I just think, like in any profession, that you just have people that don't know how to do their job and they constantly fuck up.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a case of people just fucking up, not knowing how to do their jobs well. But instead of like where you and I, like our jobs, a couple of people are going to catch our mistake and correct it and hopefully be done. But the NFL, you've got excess of 60, 70 million people that see your mistakes, and they're going to think something's not quite right. I don't know. I just think with like the whole rigging thing, I think if you're going to rig it, like as an example, like Dallas is considered America's team, but yet the Dallas Cowboys have not been like to a Super Bowl since the 90s. So, I mean, like my thinking is like, okay, well, why hasn't Dallas made more of a run if the NFL's rigged? Joe Burrow, I think, is a more captivating personality in the NFL than Patrick Mahomes. So why wouldn't you capitalize on that, put him on the big stage again to create like the next big NFL star? The New York teams have not been very good. I don't know. There's too much to sway it to where it's not rigged. I just think that the NFL officiating is just a complete shit show. And
I would agree with you. I think that it is more likely that people are just not doing their jobs well.
yeah,
Now, that being said, it could be rigged. I'm not saying that it is, but it is a possibility. It's just like anything else that's a conspiracy. There is a possibility that the conspiracy might be right. Well, more often than not, it's Occam's razor, right? Mm-hmm. The simplest solution is probably the solution.
right.
So them not doing their job sounds like the simplest solution. That's probably what's happening.
I also would think too that there has to be disgruntled players at some point that would expose all that. Like, I don't know if you know who Antonio Brown is, but he was a receiver for the Steelers. He was really good. And then he suffered an injury a few years ago, and then like he's just gone completely fucking crazy. He's the guy that walked off the field last year, took his jersey off in the middle of a game because he played with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. He just took his jersey off, threw it in the crowd, and just fucking left right in the middle of a game. So, I mean, to me, like someone like him, I think would easily blow the lid off of something like that if it were legit.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just the whole thing, like the conspiracy theory about not landing on the moon or like there being aliens or whatever, and NASA knowing about it. Like thousands, if not like tens of thousands of people have to keep their mouths shut. And that is not going to be the case for anything in the NFL. There's nobody in the NFL that could keep their mouth shut like that long, let alone thousands of people.
Right. I mean, like, all it would take was somebody like wanting to pony up some money, or like, as broke as a lot of these guys are, because unfortunately athletes don't seem to manage their money very well. It's like they get a shit ton of money, and then the first thing that pops in their head is like, oh, I've got $10 million now. Let me go spend it almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then, I figured that somebody like would come after them, wanting them to write a book, or, hey, we'll throw you like $200,000 to come on 2020 or Fox News or MSNBC and just give this tell-all interview and have proof. Because there's got to be some kind of proof.
Yeah. And, I mean, like I said, there's always a possibility that there's some little truth nugget to conspiracy, but probably not the case.
Yeah, I think until Vince McMahon buys an NFL team, then yeah, once he gets into like NFL ownership, then like, okay, now maybe there might be some validity to this.
You have football players like putting razors on themselves so that like they look all bloody. Like, man, look how violent this sport is now.
Well, I don't know if you watched the XFL when he ran it when he first brought it to television. He tried it again a couple of years ago. The pandemic
I totally forgot that it was him that did that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and they tried to incorporate a lot of WWE style storylines into the production and the presentation of it. The on the field stuff was kind of hit and miss. Like, a lot of it's just guys that couldn't really cut it in the NFL, or either couldn't make the NFL or like they were washed up. They had a shot and they just couldn't make it. But they would incorporate like back behind the scenes stuff, shit like that. So,
oh my God, Tom Brady's going for the pass, and oh, he's got the chair. He's got the chair.
Micah Parsons just laid him out. My God, Tom Brady's a human being. I thought the game was great. I'm guessing you didn't get to see Rihanna's performance either, which turns out she was
I
pregnant.
I did see Rihanna's performance, but only after the fact, just because so many people were talking about it. I actually I what piqued my interest was a meme that somebody had shared after the fact of Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob SquarePants doing pelvic thrusts,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, this has to be hilariously bad. So I went and looked for it and watched it, and it wasn't like the worst halftime show I've ever seen, but it was very goofy.
Yeah, I mean, she's not really my cup of tea. I didn't think it was. I didn't hate it. I know. Um, I was on social media during the halftime show, and a lot of the old whites, the ones that like to bitch and complain and tell people that if they don't like it, then if they don't like it, then nobody should like it. They were bitching that it was a bad halftime show. But when you
Are
said
these
something
the
about
same old? Are these the same old whites that complain about recasting the Little Mermaid?
yeah, the old white people, it's a group. You can point them out. You go to a grocery store and point them out. They're the ones that bitch about like all music's not as good as it used to be when I was a kid, or they criticize your parenting skills. They're the ones that always bitch about somebody not being polite. You know who they are. The people
Yeah,
just
yeah,
have nothing
exactly.
better to do than to bitch and make because they're hateful. They have to hate on everything that people like, and
There was actually one of those at work today. Um, it was actually before you got downstairs. There was a couple of old ladies that were accompanying one of the employees down there. They happened to pass one of our server rooms. And one of the old ladies is like, "Yeah, my husband used to be a fire marshal, and the fact that you have cardboard that close to those, she didn't call them server racks, but she's like, so close to all those wires and things means that you're going to have a fire on your hands."
yep, that is an example, a textbook example of the old whites. And I'm not going to take credit for that term. It's something I heard on the Pat McAfee show, and like when he said it, I'm like, fuck, that is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that's that's probably your stereotypical okay boomer moment.
Yep. I know some people call them boomers. We'll call them the old whites here on the show.
The old whites, yeah. I mean, because some boomers are okay. We're not gonna stereotype.
No, I'm not going to hate on all the boomers, but the ones that like to bitch about everything. But so you didn't watch the game. So did you have a chance to watch any of the commercials?
Yes, yes. I did watch the commercials. Like I said, after the fact, I went through some greatest hits compilations of the commercials.
Well, before we get into today's episode, the meat and potatoes of the show, do you have a favorite commercial outside of the movie
Oh,
ones?
yeah. I don't even remember what kind of chips they were, but the Breaking Bad commercial for the chips,
Yeah, that was going
excellent.
to be my choice too. It's that one and the Ben Affleck Dunkin' Donuts one.
Yeah, see, I didn't get to watch the Ben Affleck one. I didn't get to see that one.
That's pretty good. It's basically him working at a Dunkin' Donuts,
Okay.
and J Lo pulls up in there asking what he's doing. It's kind of a play on the Ben Affleck memes because he's got two memes that are he's pretty much known for. It's the fuck it, what have I done to deserve this meme, where it's him like just enjoying a cigarette because it's just a moment of peace for him.
Super stressed out Ben Affleck.
Yeah. And then there's one where it's like him with a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts cups walking into his house. I think this was post Jennifer Garner breakup, pre Jennifer Lopez, when they got back together. I think it's that time in between those. But
Yeah.
it was a kind of a cool play on it. I did enjoy that one too. But
I yeah, one of my second favorites was I enjoyed the Pepsi Max ones, like the different ones. I liked Steve Martin's the best, but
Oh, okay. That's the sugar-free Pepsi stuff.
yeah, yeah.
It was funny. We were watching the game, and my son mentioned something about the Ben Stiller ones. He goes, "Is that Zoolander?" And I
Oh,
said,
yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah.
that's who that is. That's Zoolander." I said, "How do you know what Zoolander is?" He goes, "Oh, I watched it a couple weeks ago." He goes, "That movie sucks."
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, I tried to give that movie a chance a couple different times. I just can't get into it. Not my cup of tea. Um, but the big reason why we are here is since we do like to talk about movies on the show, they did have quite a bit of movie trailers. And Adam and I are going to break down our top five favorite ones. I don't think we're going to do the ultimate top five list. I kind of like what we did last week where we just kind of let the people decide. Um, you can find these all over YouTube. Some were just kind of brief clips. You can find the full length trailer on YouTube as well. But let's get started, man. What's your top five? What was your well? Before we get into your top five, what was the worst movie trailer you've seen, and what was one that caught you off guard by how good it was?
The one that caught me off guard is my favorite one, so I'll save that for a little bit. The worst one would have to be honestly Transformers. Uh, I kind of have grown tired of Transformers movies,
Mm-hmm.
and at this point, I don't really care. I mean, just my opinion. I'm sure there's some like Transformer super fan out there that's like, "Oh man, Transformers, hell yeah!" Like, and eh, sure. It didn't really show a lot. Um, it had a couple of moments of what we've seen before in Transformers movies. I have no love for any of the characters because I don't even know who they are at this point. So yeah, that was my least favorite trailer.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm not super psyched about a new Transformers movie. I was very surprised by how good Bumblebee was,
Yeah,
but it focused on one like character versus like trying to incorporate 9,000 different robots, which looked exactly the same unless you were Bumblebee or Optimus Prime.
it, the interject isn't it like the worst thing ever when they transform? They look like shards of metal. You know how like when you actually get the toys or you watch the cartoon, you can tell how they fit together as their like car or whatever they transform into.
I also
In the
miss the
movie,
noise that they make when they transform too. They really didn't have that in the movies. That and I was like,
yeah,
yeah, why don't you have that in the
they,
movies?
they tried to for a second and then they just like gave up.
Yeah, that I was doing a little reading about that. And the main character is a Porsche voiced by Pete Davidson, who I'm not a fan of
Yeah.
to begin with. So that instantly
Mm-hmm.
drops it down towards the bottom for me.
Yeah.
I know the worst one, or the one, I wouldn't say the worst one, but the one I just seemed to be the least interested in was the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah.
We have our friends at the Knights of Degradation podcast. They do a Dungeons and Dragons like uh, like audio drama, which is fantastic. Definitely check them out if you get a chance. And I was talking to Cole, who's I guess the showrunner or the host, and he's not even interested in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just curious, like, hey man, what do you think about the Dungeons and Dragons movie? And he just said that some of the other members of the show might be a little bit more interested in it, but he has no interest in seeing it at all.
I feel like it has come at the worst time too because I don't know how well you follow Dungeons and Dragons, but there's some issues with Wizards of the Coast and licensing to people using the Dungeons and Dragons license in different games and media, and they've gotten into some hot water by basically saying, okay, if you're going to use this license, then retroactively, everything is going to have to pay us royalties, and you're going to have to do this and that and the other thing. So pretty much all of their partners that have used the license are getting angry, and because something that was previously free, they're going to have to pay money for. It's literally just a way to stifle creativity and to get more money out of a property that doesn't get them as much money as like Magic the Gathering or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole drama behind Dungeons and Dragons does not lend itself well to the movie. I doubt if that movie gets any good box office.
Yeah, it's coming out in March too, which you and I discussed last week. It's just a murderer's row of just hit after hit after hit, and then it's coming at the tail end of the month. Now, if the movie were actually about the behind-the-scenes shit that's going on right now, I'd probably be more interested in seeing it. But they'd also turn it into like a Netflix show.
Yeah, kind of like the whole GameStop Netflix documentary, or
I think they're making a GameStop movie, if I'm not mistaken, about that whole like.
Yeah, they are. Oh, the documentary is excellent too, by the way, if you haven't seen it. They've got some pretty funny characters that you can tell they definitely made sure they got the weirdest ones to talk to.
Oh, if you're if you're talking about GameStop, say no more. I've been into quite a few GameStops, and I've seen the people that either shop in there or run the place. And yeah, I can already imagine it's probably a quite colorful cast of characters in that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what's your top five, man? I'm curious to hear who you got.
Okay, so my top five, like I said earlier, the one that caught me off guard the most is my number one, and I'm sure it's a lot of people's number one.
Well, how about we start from five and then work our way up to one?
All right. Yep. Sure. Yep. Number five for me, probably Indiana Jones. The trailer kind of did nothing for me, and I'm for an Indiana Jones film, I'm not super stoked for it, but I had to include it on this list because, like we were talking about before, Transformers and Dungeons and Dragons just aren't the stuff. Indy at least has the name and a nostalgic place in my heart, so he's getting number five, even though I'm not super stoked for the movie. Number four, I would have to choose Scream. The last one wasn't bad.
I thought the last one was really, really good.
Yeah.
Like I probably would say it's probably my second or third. I think I'd almost say it's number two.
It's definitely not. The earlier ones are definitely some of the worst one. The first one's the best one. Let's put it that way. And then I'd say like three was my least favorite. But I'm kind of stoked for that. I'm glad that that's still going strong. Number three for me is going to be Fast and the Furious, Fast 10, I should say. It was I liked the trailer. It had a lot of cool cheesy action stunts that you like to see in those movies now.
So it looked like a Fast and Furious movie.
It did, yeah. And it didn't take my number two just because one and two are kind of givens, especially with me being such a nerd. But it got number three also, and not number two, because they did not name it Fast 10 Your Seatbelts.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for you to. You talked all day about incorporate or talking about why they didn't name it that, and I was waiting like he's going to say that in the show tonight.
Such a missed opportunity. It is such a missed opportunity. Anyways,
I hope they include it in the ad campaign, though.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
At some point, you're going to have that in at least like the ads, like Fast 10 Your Seatbelts this Memorial Day weekend.
I hope they do it at least in some form or fashion.
And you know what
It's
they
kind of
do? You
tied with,
fucking need to sue Universal.
yeah, because you heard it here first, everybody. I said it first. So this is the proof. Now they can pay me royalties. Anyways,
Send them a message
um,
like, I'm
it,
about to sue your ass.
so it's kind of on par with my number two. So number two and Fast 10 are kind of equal in this sense. The only, like I said, the only reason I gave uh, Fast 10 number three was because of that. Two is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Um, it looks like there's some gravitas in this one. There's some stuff going on. There's a lot of talk about family, how they found each other. They, had some pretty funny jokes in the trailer, which Guardians is well known for. So it looks like a Guardians movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it's got going for it. But again, the same as some of the other stuff we've talked about, like Transformers. It's all stuff we've seen before. There's nothing that like jumped out at me and said you need to see this movie. If they showed something like, uh, I don't really like the villain. I don't really um, care for the dynamic between Gamora and Star Lord is fun, but it's still something we've seen before. Before they got all lovey dovey, they had that dynamic already. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie though, and I'm excited to see it. So it gets number two, um, and only because Fast 10 just missed the boat on that opportunity.
On the marketing opportunity.
Uh, and then that brings me to my number one, which was something that I didn't expect to be my number one. I highly expected the Flash to disappoint, but it did not. Um, DC is used to disappointing us. DC is used to putting out hot garbage. And while there is some gems in the junk, that's what they're known for. And I think that a lot of people will make the argument that are we doing spoilers for the trailers for? If you're listening to this, you've seen the trailers already. So I'm gonna
Adam, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. No one's going to listen to this episode anyway. So go ahead. You can watch the fucking trailer online anyways.
Michael Keaton in it as Batman. People will argue that that's nostalgia bait. That's the only reason why it's good. Um, I would argue that them using the storyline of the Flashpoint paradox and making the Flash a relatable character that just wants his mom. He wants his mom back. That's something that DC is really, really good at in the comics and in their animated media. They're really good at driving human stories. And the most inhuman actor they could have gotten for the Flash, they've made a believable character in this trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it was very jarring to see a DC movie on the top of the list. So yeah, no, that's my number one.
I think we'll dig into this as soon as I read mine off. But yeah, your list is going to be very similar to what I had. I think the notable exceptions, I had Creed 3 at number 5, simply because I think in terms of movie franchises, the Rocky series is right up near the top. Like outside of 5, I have never been disappointed watching a Rocky movie. Now, Creed 2 wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still a pretty damn entertaining movie. And I think this one's going to be more... It seems like the Creed series is following the same path as the Rocky movies. Like you had the Prestige Rocky, which was the first one. Creed was the same way. And then now they're kind of leaning into more of just the Rocky formula that they based 2, 3, 4, and so on. Creed, I think, is going to be kind of like that similar boat. Jonathan Majors is the villain in that too, and he looks absolutely fucking shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be Jonathan Majors' year, I think. Super excited for it. Scream was number 4. I just love the fact that they took the killer out of a high school setting and put him or her, whoever's the killer, in essentially the biggest city in the world.
Yeah.
I do like the New York City setting. Number 3 is Indy. You know, like, he's my favorite movie character of all time. I absolutely love Indiana Jones, and I'm willing to give between who's all involved in it. It's James Mangold's directing it. He's got a solid track record. Mads Mikkelsen is the villain, who I absolutely love as an actor. Yeah. And it's Harrison Ford. I could be just me being a sucker, but I believe it's going to be good. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies that is going to be super cinematic, and it's going to play into all of the nostalgia tropes, and the way that they're going to shoot it is going to be really the cinematography is probably going to be on par with the other ones because they use practical effects and practical lighting, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all on board for all of that, but it's just I think that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kind of soured me. And he is one of my favorite movie characters of all time. It's just that he's so darn old.
He is.
And I mean, I've always been one of those purists that thinks that them riding off into the sunset together at the end of the third movie is the best ending.
Yeah, they should have left it alone. I totally agree with that. They should have just left it alone.
So purely on nostalgia and the fact that I love Indy, I gave him a spot on the list, but I couldn't put him at number 3. That was just me, though.
Yeah. With the Crystal Skull, I kind of seen what they were trying to do. Because I don't know if you noticed, at least this is my theory on it, is Indy 1 through 3 were supposed to be like the old movie serials from like the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then when Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull takes place in the 50s, it's supposed to kind of emulate the cheesy sci-fi flicks from the 50s.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what they were trying to go for, and it just kind of hit.
The execution, it was just it didn't hit the right note. They tried to hit the high note, and they hit a really low note.
Yeah. Number 2, same as you, Guardians. They, it was kind of a balance of like the humor, and then it looks like this is going to be the last ride of the Guardians of the Galaxy, at least this incarnation of them.
Yeah. I think there are several incarnations of them. Not like a huge Guardians of the Galaxy guy, but I mean, I've figured out since the movies has come about that there's a lot of different incarnations of Guardians of the Galaxy, and we've only gotten the one so far.
Mm-hmm. I think that if there's one movie that Marvel has on their slate that I'm excited for, and I think actually will be good, is going to be that. Especially coming off of the holiday special that they had come out around Thanksgiving, which I thought was fantastic.
That was so good.
I'm kind of like you right now. You and I both seem to be in agreement that I don't know if it's fatigue or Marvel's just in a creative rut, but it just seems like they haven't been hitting on all cylinders like they normally do.
Yeah.
If you were to read the reviews of Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Quantumania, it seems like they are really, really in a creative rut right now, because I know the reviews for that haven't been that great. But Guardians,
yeah, it is.
I think when I text you guys a little bit ago, I think it was sitting at 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, because the reviews started trickling out today.
Yeah.
And we're recording on a Tuesday night. So yeah, not looking too good, but I think James Gunn's got a solid track record.
He does.
I'm betting that Guardians is going to be good. But I'm with you, man. Number one's The Flash. Uh, I don't usually get too excited for movie trailers the way that I did for this one, but when you got to see Keaton's Batman show up for the first time, I was pretty fucking elated.
Yeah. And hearing Elfman's score when he comes on the screen, oh man. Yeah, no, I nerded out really hard.
Yeah, we got Ben Affleck coming back, and I thought Affleck was just going to be like the Bruce Wayne, like just Bruce Wayne, and that's it. But no, we actually get to see Affleck in Batman too.
Yeah.
And I noticed in when they showed the shot of the suits, it looks like Keaton's Batman has a blue and gray suit.
Yes, he does.
So then we got General Zod in there. I'm just DC hit a home run with this.
Yeah.
Considering all the turmoil that's been going on with Warner Brothers and the whole Discovery thing where they're cutting costs, they ditched Batgirl altogether. They needed this to be good, and they hit a home run. Like, I am so excited for this movie now. I cannot wait for June the 16th.
I think they caught lightning in a bottle. I might be saying that prematurely, but
Is there a pun in that?
I mean, yes, there is a pun in that. Take that as a pun. But I think that this is the perfect movie for them to, with everything going on at Warner Brothers, with them getting James Gunn on as the co-CEO, with them switching gears and doing in a completely different DC universe. Which, if you haven't seen James Gunn's video on what's on the slate and what his plan is for the DC universe, definitely go watch it.
Well, we discussed it last week too.
Yeah.
Check out the last week's episode. We talked about it too.
Yeah. Shameless plugs. We always have to have them.
Yep. Find us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast.
We talk a lot about superheroes. Like last week's podcast, we also have a Spider-Man and The Dark Knight, and we even talk about who the best Joker is on one of those podcasts. So go check it out.
Good job, Adam. Sounding all natural at this.
I think they've gotten the perfect movie to reset, and this one, takes place across universes, across time. So they've pretty much done what Marvel has done, where they can pretty much pull any actor they want from any timeline they want from, because Marvel, they can use Hugh Jackman's going to be in Deadpool. I mean, they got Patrick Stewart to be in Doctor Strange. They got, whoever they want. They got Tobey Maguire in one of their movies. This is something that DC can use going forward to tie together old movies that they want to pick and choose from, and then make new stories out of it. So I think this is a perfect movie for DC to set the bar and just take off running, because they can take off running with this one. Also pun.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, because I know the early buzz on this is it's supposed to be one of the best DC movies they've done, which, I mean, you said like the bar is not incredibly high for that, but man, that's the first time I've been blown away by a trailer in a while.
The visuals on it are, some of them you can tell are kind of unfinished, unpolished a little bit.
Yeah.
The lighting's kind of, but that doesn't matter. The visuals that they showed, like the slow motion of Supergirl punching the men, or the even the bat plane up in the air where lightning hits it and lightning travels, like those visuals are really cool. They're really you can tell that the angle and the lighting were thought out really well. So And visually, this is probably going to be spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they've got great actors. We've got Michael Keaton. Um, I mean, I can't say the same for Ezra Miller. He's a human pile of garbage. But in this, they make him look like, somebody that you can get behind.
Mm-hmm.
So DC's got that going for him. This is probably going to be a hidden gem for people that don't think it's going to do well.
No, I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. But I mean, still very early because I know Marvel, or not Marvel, but DC, the Batman versus Superman trailer was fucking amazing. And
Yeah.
movie itself, not so much. So I'm
Although,
I'm cautiously optimistic that the Flash is going to be really good, but the trailer was phenomenal.
something we can take away from the Batman versus Superman experience, though, is during test screenings, it did poorly, and everybody thought that it was going to be good anyways, because what do critics know?
Mm-hmm.
And this one is testing really well with test audiences, so hopefully that's indicative of it being really, really good.
I wonder how you become, like, you get into these test screenings. I really want to know.
Yeah, it's like, okay, do I have to sign an NDA? Because I'll do that all day. I just want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that I won't discuss it with my friends, but yeah.
Isn't that the opposite of what an NDA is for? I am
Well,
disclosing everything to my friends. Everything.
well, in the pretense that my friends have seen this, like, hey, can I bring a guest? Is it just me solo?
Yeah, see, didn't Marvel just announce that you can, like, their employees cannot bring a guest to test screenings now because apparently there's been some leaks that have happened that way.
Also, they should not invite Tom Holland to test screenings because he will also ruin the movie.
Did you hear? Speaking of movie leaks, has nothing to do with superhero movies, but did you hear what John Boyega did for Rise of Skywalker? I mean, even if it was leaked, it wouldn't have done better. But he left a copy of the script, the entire script, at his hotel room, and apparently the cleaning lady picked it up. She didn't know what she had, and she was selling it on some online site for like $40.
Oh, damn.
The studio ended up getting it back, but like that's
I'm willing to bet it probably costs a lot more than $40 to get that back.
yeah.
Well, before we wrap this up, I had one last question for you. I know when we discussed this earlier, I know the Super Mario Brothers movie had an ad in the Super Bowl, but it was not a conventional movie ad. It was a commercial that promoted the movie. I'm just curious to why it didn't make your top 5, because I know you're probably more excited for the Super Mario Brothers movie than anyone else that I know.
I am, and it would have made my top 5, but it wasn't a traditional trailer, so that's why I did not include it. I mean, I would have included Stray had we decided, because the red band was better than the actual trailer that they showed. But that being said, that's why it did not make my list.
Yeah, I will say that definitely go check out the trailers on YouTube. I think I did a running list, and there were 12 or 13 movies that were featured during the game. There was The Flash, Guardians 3, Creed 3, Transformers Rise of the Beast, Dungeons & Dragons, Air, which I'm very intrigued by. It's about Nike recruiting Michael Jordan to be the face of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Strays, which is a Will Ferrell is a stray dog movie. The ad, I think they ran the ad towards, I think it's in the post game. the ad that they showed during the game kind of sucked, but the Red Band trailer is hysterical. So if you're going to watch that, look for the Red Band trailer. Phenomenal. We got Indy, Fast 10, 65, which has Adam Driver, which looks like they decided to remake After Earth, but better. Even though it takes place.
I like that. Yeah.
Even though it takes place before, I think it's a dinosaur movie, kind of prehistoric time traveler, more like Planet of the Apes meets After Earth. Scream 6, that Super Mario Brothers commercial within the movie, and then we got Cocaine Bear during the pregame, which I'm also very excited to see.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear gets a honorable mention from me because cocaine, a bear, what's not to like?
I really hope that Cocaine Bear leads to a franchise where he battles like Meth Gator, Murder Hornets.
That'll be spectacular.
Sharknado. It leads up to Sharknado. He fights Sharknado.
It's like a real life Pokemon, but with death and blood and gore.
Yeah. So yeah, let's make that happen. I don't really have much to add outside of I was very pleased for the most part with the ads during the game. Super Bowl is usually those are the ads I'm looking forward to most. The final question I have before we wrap this up, was there any movies that are coming out that you were surprised they didn't run an ad for during the game? Because I have a couple in mind, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it first.
Trying to think. I can't think of any off the top of my head, not quickly enough anyways.
Well, I know that the Marvels, I think it's coming out in July. The Captain Marvel sequel was rumored to have an ad, and it turns out they didn't. So I was surprised we didn't get anything for that. I know The Little Mermaid was featured in that Disney sizzle reel, but I kind of figured they would have maybe played like an actual like trailer during the game, but they probably figured like, the old whites are going to be pissed off at this halftime show. Let's not give them too much to get mad about. And I was also surprised that Paramount didn't do anything for Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was the one I was most surprised. I thought for sure we would get something for Dead Reckoning, and nothing.
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, because right now would have been the perfect time. Tom Cruise, King of Hollywood, Top Gun Maverick was such a huge success. Nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, which blows my mind.
That is crazy.
I don't give a fuck. That was my favorite movie of 2022. I will die on that hill.
I'm not bashing it at all. I'm just surprised that the Academy decided to, put it on the ballot.
That probably has something to do with the fact that Tom Cruise kind of has been considered the guy that kind of saved movie theaters, because that was bringing out like the crowds that normally weren't coming out during the pandemic. So kind of shows like, hey, old whites, come on back to the movie theater. We got some shit for you to see.
Military and whatnot.
Yeah, planes, Tom Cruise, motorcycles, and beating up bad guys in different countries. Come on. But I was a little shocked that they didn't do anything, because I think outside of the trailer that ran during Top Gun, there hasn't been anything coming out for Mission Impossible. So,
yeah, no, I don't think so.
So, well, that's going to wrap up today's show. Adam, I always enjoy bringing you on to talk movies. We'll have to do it again soon. I had planned maybe a very adventurous, we try to predict the Oscar winners, but I don't have enough time anymore to sit and watch Best Picture or Best Actor nominee, so I'm not gonna fuck with that.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard doing, especially with the schedules and the fact that a lot of these movies that are on the ballot are like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I can already see now. I'm trying to watch Tar. My 4-year-old daughter comes in and like, I don't want to watch this, Daddy. I want to watch Coco Melon.
And you know what? Coco Melon takes the Oscar for best visual effects.
Yeah. Yeah, I could try. I tell my daughter like, "Hey, this is Coco Melon." It's
your daughter is smarter than that.
She is. She's smarter than I am. She would probably like swear at me like, "No, it's not, Dad. You're not bullshitting a bullshitter, Dad." All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Shoot us an email at couchbrotatopodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to leave us a review, hopefully a 5-star review if you like what you heard. If you didn't like it, just pretend like you didn't hear it. Just vanish it from your mind. But we hope you enjoyed it. Come on back next week. We will drop a new episode Tuesday. I promise we'll be back on the Tuesday schedule starting next week. But until then, check us out. We appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you later.